Hi, I am Christine Havlieres, and I'm the ambassador and sponsor of the Mendham, New Jersey Park Bench website. And today I'm very excited because I am interviewing the mayor of Mendham Township, New Jersey, and that's Mayor Sarah Neibart. And Sarah, it is so wonderful to have you here today, and it's really an honor for me to have you as my guest interviewee.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry that we couldn't be in person, but due to COVID, unfortunately, we still can't really gather, and we're all social distancing still. But hopefully, in the future, I'll meet you in person.
Yes, I would love that. Maybe we could do a cup of coffee someplace close in Mendham. That'll be wonderful. So I had sent you over some interview questions, and we're just going to go with it. And I look forward to your answers on this. So, you are a woman, a businesswoman. You are now the mayor of Mendham Township, New Jersey. What made you and inspired you to become involved in politics? And did you have a mentor that sent you in that direction?
Yes, so I became the mayor of Mendham Township in January 2020. And before that, I was a township committee person. So in 2019, I was the deputy mayor of Mendham Township. And in 2018, I was actually originally appointed to the committee. And then I ran for reelection. So I originally filled somebody else's term, and then I, won reelection to the committee. And so the next term started in 2019, and so now this is my second year as mayor. And it's been a really rewarding experience. And before I was appointed to the committee in March 2018, I never really thought of being an elected official locally. I actually worked professionally in politics beforehand. I have been really involved in different campaigns as well as nonprofit organizations. And I actually had a mentor who you might know. She's the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of New Jersey, Kim Guadagno. And I worked on her campaign in 2017 when Kim was running for governor. And I was her political director, and we, I loved working for her, and now she is definitely a dear friend and will always be a mentor towards me and a bunch of my other colleagues. But something that I will always remember is that the reason why she originally ran for local elected office when she started in politics was because of her child's bus stop. So there was an issue when her kids were young regarding our child's bus stop. And then there was another issue about, trash collection in her town. And she was really upset about it. And so instead of just, complaining about it, she decided to run for local office. And so before she was the sheriff of Monmouth County, before she was the lieutenant governor of the state of New Jersey, she was a local official. And so what I learned from her is, really put your actions where your words are. And so during her campaign in 2017, her main issue was property taxes. And as you probably know better than most people, property taxes in New Jersey are the highest in the nation. And it is an issue, especially in northern New Jersey. And, she had different proposals about property taxes. We talked about it a lot. And anytime you do a poll in New Jersey, you find out that the number one issue for New Jersey residents is property taxes. But if you also ask folks if they think their property taxes could be lower, they'll tell you they don't believe that they can. They kind of just accept that they're going to have to pay high property taxes because they live in New Jersey. And so I always thought it was really interesting. And so after her campaign, I actually launched an organization to educate folks on property taxes, because there is an anomaly in New Jersey of how we fund our local budgets as well as our state budgets. And that's through property taxes primarily. And it's very interesting, the different allocations between, the schools versus, municipal government and the county, and how the school funding formula goes into property taxes or contributes to what your overall property tax levy is. And so in early 2018, I had this organization. And during that time, there was an opening that came up in my local township committee. And they said, Sarah, you clearly care so much about property taxes. Property taxes start on the local level. Maybe you want to think about filling this term and then running for reelection. And I said, whoa, really? And at that time, I believe I was 25 years old. And I have lived in Morris County since I was, I believe, 10 months old. So, I'm pretty local to the area. I grew up in Morris Township. I actually went to Morrison High School. And, my husband and I moved to Mendham. His whole family lives in Mendham, and we love it here. And I said, you know what? I really love this community. I look forward to living here the rest of my life. I want to make it better. And I do really care about this issue of property taxes. And, I really think that I could probably do a good job. And so I was appointed to the township committee. And that's kind of, what has led me in one way or the other to where I am now, which it's kind of crazy to look back to think that was only 3 or so years ago. And so much has happened, including a global pandemic. But it has been an incredibly rewarding experience. And I learned something new every day, and I would never, change that, because it's been incredibly rewarding.
Wow, what a story. I'm like very impressed.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story.
Tell me, what was the organization you started for the taxes? What was the name of it?
Yeah, so it's Citizens for Accountable Taxation, and our campaign specifically is Fair Property Taxes for All New Jersey. And so it was specifically to educate folks on property taxes in New Jersey. I no longer run that organization. I actually now work as a government contractor, and I'm the mayor as well. I actually am in a master's program for taxation policy. So I've kind of segued into a more formal education on taxation. I specifically focus on state and local taxes and how the federal government kind of integrates and works with or doesn't work with the states on taxation. And so that's what I'm studying right now. And I work with the federal government in technology and a lot of cyber issues.
Very interesting. And to your point, not to bring up my career, but I am a real estate agent with Keeneland, Latman, Sotheby's, and a lot of people don't realize that they can appeal their taxes. And understanding when the town does do an evaluation of taxes, and when it's right to do it, because believe it or not, many people are moving out of New Jersey due to taxes because they can't afford to live here. So what an incredible story. And your mentor, Kim, and that's amazing. I did vote for her. We'll just leave it at that.
She's a great lady.
Right. And it's great that, everyone has a mentor. I had a mentor when I was growing up, and, I think it's great. So you became mayor of Mendham Township you said January of 2020. Is that correct? Okay, great. And your inspiration for becoming mayor was because you saw yourself, you're living in that town, your husband's family's from Mendham, and you see yourself living here a long time, and you really cared about the town and doing something for the town. And that was your thought process behind that. So tell me, I've never been a mayor, and many people may not ever be a mayor. Tell me what a typical day is like in your life as mayor, and what some of your responsibilities are, so people understand that.
Yeah, so it very much varies. So just for a little bit of background, in Mendham Township, we have a township committee form of government. So we have 5 individuals that are elected at large by the public, so all of our residents in town. And then internally, we select our mayor. So there's some towns that have this township committee form, or there's towns that have a mayor that is elected directly from the people. And so it really it differentiates, because I actually have a vote as a township committee member, but I also am the mayor. And so technically my roles and responsibilities are, I have my liaisonships on different committees, but I also set the budget. I sign a lot of the bills. And it really just depends on how I'm involved local officials really want to get. So previously, before myself and my immediate predecessor, some local officials in town weren't as involved in the town. We have some incredible professional staff members that really
Mhm.
run the day-to-day operations. And so it's really, they go to the local officials and say, hi, I have a question on X, Y, and Z. What do you think? Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just an easy conversation. Other times they bring it to the governing body. But myself and my immediate predecessor, Warren Geiser, were pretty hands-on when it comes to just, how we deal with running the town. And so, and I think that's just also just a product of who we are, our relationships. We also were both very involved in the finance committee. So I'm the chair of the finance committee. He was previously the chair of the finance committee when he was the mayor. And so that's really, setting the budget. And with the budget, you really set the agenda and the priorities of the town. So that's pretty interesting and pretty important. But there's another dynamic on it. We are in the midst of a global pandemic. And so I became mayor in January 2020. Like any mayor or any person on the committee, I had my own priorities. We all do. We all have our projects that's the reason we want to run. And so, one of my priorities was delivering a budget last year with a 0% increase. And we didn't have an increase. We actually had a slight decrease in Mendham Township last year, which was the first time in over 10 years.
Wow, that must have been great.
It was great. But so, you have your different priorities, and then a global pandemic hits, and it kind of makes you stop, reevaluate things. And in the midst of all of that happening, our township administrator actually left. So in April 2020, I was, a pretty new mayor with no township administrator. We hired an interim person to kind of just help, keep things going in town. But, we also were in a local state of emergency, myself, as well as our OEM coordinator. We were the first town, I believe one of the first towns in the state to actually call a local state of emergency. So myself, our OEM coordinator, Evan Thomas, and our police chief, Ross Johnson, pretty much, laid out the policies and, how the town would be governed for the next year. And, a lot of those policies are still in place. Some of them have been lessened. But with that, I really kind of took on the role of some of the responsibilities of our administrator. And so, previously, local officials haven't really been in town hall every day. I actually am in town hall pretty much every day. I'm meeting with residents. I'm also, working with our staff. I think especially because we are in a kind of flex situation regarding some of our staffing positions in town hall right now, it's good to kind of have one person who is kind of just, there to bounce some ideas off of, or help, assist or coordinate in any way, shape, or form. Additionally, we have some, really big initiatives that are coming down the line. So we have a lot of buildings that have suffered from deferred maintenance for the last 30 to 50 years in Mendham Township. And so we actually launched a feasibility study of our town hall building last May, as well as, looked to build a new police station. And we are actually in the midst of a contract with an architect to update our town hall building, to make it up to ADA standards, to update a lot of the systems, as well as expand it within the, original footprint, but to allow for more space for the library. And we're all also looking to build a new police station, hopefully within the next year or so. So we have some really big things going down the line. And because we are having some of these, flexible, or we're having some of these openings in our staff, I'm there to assist and just help out in any way I can.
Well, you said a lot, and I have to say, no, this is wonderful because number one is you're in your township building almost like every day.
Yeah.
And for me now, if I don't live in Mendham, but if I was a Mendham resident, I would feel a sense of relief that my mayor is in the building and can be accessed at any time. So that to me is kind of a warm and fuzzy feeling as a community member. you set a lot of goals that you want to establish. I did go on to the one website and I listened to one of the police chiefs, because you have two, your town, your Mendham Township, there is Mendham Borough, and correct me if I'm wrong, that one of your, where the police station is working out of was a house. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
1967 split level home that has
Uh,
not
I
been
was,
updated.
I couldn't believe it. I said,
That
and
was
he told
horrible. I feel so bad for them. It is just the most awful conditions for, it just, it's been talked about. There's probably been 4 different times it's been talked about updating it. And I'm
right.
sure you've seen the video of the police station because that was part of our campaign to get the vote to update the police station last year. And it is just horrible that so many people have let our police, our first responders in our community, operate in that building. It's, they deserve better.
Exactly.
And, they, when any emergency happens, regardless of what it is, they are the first on the scene.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, they do a lot of local programs. They're in our schools. They know the kids. We just have such a great police department. I would say it's the best in the state. And our police chief is just incredible. And
Mhm.
he really has just created such a good culture in the Mendham Township Police Department.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, tell me about, you're going to build a new police station. You said about the library. Give me like your top 3 to 4 goals for this year, so people are aware of what you're moving forward with as mayor of Mendham Township.
Yeah, so there's a few. Yes, we want to put the police station under contract and start construction on it. So that is, hopefully going to be at 4 West Main Street. Currently,
Okay.
there's a residential house that the municipality owns, but hopefully, we will be demolishing that and we will be building a new police station. So it'll be right next to the town hall building, which is great. And that is
Very
the
nice.
municipal, it's right, that's the municipal complex right in Brookside. And we had a committee that actually designed it to really fit into the neighborhood. So it was with residents as well as stakeholders. And it's a really, really great, it's a really great design, and I'm happy to send it to you if you're interested. In
Oh, I
addition,
would love to see it. Absolutely.
yeah, it's really, really cool. In addition to that, we're hoping to update our town hall building. So right now, a lot of the plans are being reviewed by the State Historic Preservation Office because
Mhm.
even though the town hall building is not actually a historic structure, it is a contributing historic structure to the community of Brookside because Brookside is a historic district. And
Right.
so they're reviewing it. That building, I believe, is 98 years old this year. It
Oh
has
my,
gone through a lot of different forms. It was a schoolhouse, it was a fire department, it was our Department of Public Works, it's been a town hall. It has varying colors from whatever year you look at it. And so it is hopefully going to be updating that. In addition to all of those things, we are also, and I know you probably are specifically interested in this, but we're looking to have our tax maps completed and start the reassessment process in town for, because right now, like you mentioned earlier, and I'm not sure if we were actually in the formal interview or not, but we do have a significant amount of tax appeals in town. And, we really, when you're a part of a municipality, you need to be able to project the revenue you're going to get in. In Mendham Township, we have 1 restaurant. We have 1 other local jewelry store. And then we also have the post office. And other than that, everything else is the rateable base is residential. So you really need to be able to project your revenues. And with the tax appeals, it's really, really difficult to do that because what happens is even though when somebody pays their taxes, about
Mhm.
70 to 80% goes to the school district, about 20% or so goes to the town, and the rest goes to the county. When there's a tax appeal, the municipal government pays all of the rest out. So
Okay.
it becomes an issue about how we're dealing with, money in, money out, money out. Also, what is really exciting is I was actually on our planning board meeting last night. I was just listening in as a member of the public, but we have some really cool building projects that are coming down the line in Mendham, and we haven't really seen development in Mendham Township for a while, so that's really exciting. I know there's been discussions of, some small businesses that might want to come in and possibly look to rezone some areas. So we have some really exciting projects. And I think as, technology and time moves forward and we start making these infrastructure improvements and really taking care of the spaces that we already have, we're becoming more attractive, especially during the pandemic. We are seeing this movement into the suburbs. We're seeing folks moving from
Totally.
cities west. I know a lot of my friends who are in their late 20s, early 30s are moving from New York City or Washington, D.C., back to around where they grew up. And that's so exciting. One other thing I really want to mention, and I'm sorry I should have mentioned this earlier, we're actually going to be opening the park at the historic Pitney Farm this fall. So
Wow.
after Labor Day, hopefully it's going to be the opening. We are going to have a park for passive recreation. It will be definitely contributing to the historic nature of the Pitneys, of the farm. But yeah, so we're going to have a nice park for folks to walk, run. There'll be some benches. It's been, discussed at length in the public the last couple of years. We have a former mayor in town who's really been spearheading this whole effort, Diana Orban Brown. And, she has worked with the state as well as the county. We got some grant money because of all of her efforts, and her as well as a group of stakeholders in town have been, working on this. And I'm really excited to see the final result.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. You have a lot on your plate to accomplish. This is so nice. So give me one or two of your most memorable moments or experiences as mayor of Mendham Township.
Yeah, I have. Wow. um, I have a couple. I would say one of them specifically is the fireworks last year for the 4th of July. We don't really have a town center in Mendham Township. It's very residential. We have Main Street and Brookside, which is where our municipal complex is, where our post office is. But like I mentioned, there's a store there, but there's not really a downtown. We have our community club, but it's not like there's real gathering place. And so when the pandemic, started, myself as well as our, local emergency planning committee, which is, all of our first responder organizations, our police chief, our OAM, myself, our recreation director, and many other professional staff members, we got together and we said, what can we do to make this time, a little bit better for our residents. So it's, it's going to be a hard time. We realized it was going to be a while. People are, there's tremendous loss on so many levels and grief. How can we make, life just a little bit better? And so, we came up with some incredible programming and some community activities that all abided within social distancing protocols. And we had always done a parade for the 4th of July, which is through our community club. It's, I think, one of the oldest parades in the country in Brookside, but it was canceled because, folks couldn't really gather in, by the thousands. And so this committee with like the police, fire, EMS, OEM, rec, our Rotary Club, our elected officials, some of the church members, as well as, folks from neighboring towns came, and we did I think it was a 3-hour driving parade on 4th of July morning. And then that evening, through our recreation director, David Guida, he organized with, of course, the police and, this whole group of us, the 4th of July fireworks, which we have not had fireworks in Mendham Township for, I would say, 20 years or so. I think the last time was one of the anniversaries of the fire department. And when a lot of other towns were canceling their 4th of July celebrations, we were able to do it social distancing. We have some incredible areas of open space in Mendham Township. We utilized
Mhm.
Mosley Field. Um, and we were able to have folks social distance and have this outdoor fireworks celebration. And I just remember, looking out while the fireworks were going on, and all of these families were, gathered, like, by, in a little, in like a group, and like 10 feet away from them, another family was gathered in a group. And it was really cool that everyone, no one was, grouping together. Everyone was social distancing, and I was just watching out. And we still had more room, on I think the governor's executive order was 500 people. So we had to, of course, limit the event, but it was just really cool to see us be able to actually execute such a technical event flawlessly.
Right.
And, our first responders did an incredible job. So that was really, really memorable.
That's
Um,
so nice.
I think another one was during Storm Isa. Um, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Isa Isa. Yeah, I think there's varying degrees of how folks pronounce it. But this past summer, I actually became our Deputy Office of Emergency Management Coordinator last spring because of just
Wow.
the work I was doing with the pandemic with our coordinator, Evan Thomas. And, Mendham Township didn't have power for, I would say, 5 to 7 days. And because
Wow.
the vast majority of our residents are on wells, it became a huge issue. And not everyone has generators. And so um, it was just, a really hard time. But seeing the volunteers in the fire department, the police department, our emergency services, as well as OEM, and just, volunteers that wanted to help other residents in need by either, bringing water, giving charging stations, helping folks, bring generators to them, just, giving them a place to
Mhm.
stay. It was just really great to see the community come together. And it was really, because of how the power companies, put power back on. Sometimes when
Mhm.
you're in a more spread out suburban area, you're not going to be the first area serviced. So, I know that there was a lot of frustrations, but we pulled together. And just it was, I I'm just so inspired by the community members between that and just this whole pandemic, the generosity that they've exhibited by, cooking meals for our first responders, to, outreaching to
Oh,
our
that's so
senior
nice.
citizens.
Nice.
I'm just so lucky to live in a town that, everyone treats their neighbors like their family.
Oh, see, that's so wonderful. And, a lot of times, before the pandemic hit, people look differently at people of different jobs, whether, in our community in Mount Arlington here, we have trash collection that we pay for through our HOA. And it doesn't matter if you are taking my garbage up or my recyclables, or you're the post office person, you always have the same respect for people who do different jobs. And I think with the pandemic, I'm speaking from my heart, is that, you know, when you go to the hospital for an operation, you're nervous, but you're not thinking about the nurses and the doctors. And now all of a sudden we're in a pandemic and people are fighting for their lives. And you're starting to think, wow, what a job these people are doing. I never, I always respected doctors and nurses, but until you are fighting, they're fighting to keep people alive on a ventilator. They're fighting, to get PEP, whatever, you have I think the world has changed since the pandemic hit. And I've always had great respect for anyone in any position that they were in. But I think a lot of people, may have not, and things have changed. So it's really coming back to your community, having respect for who lives in your community, and treating everybody with equal fairness and accountability, So, I think you made some very great points here. So, tell me one more thing. Okay, and we'll be done. What do you love about the Mendham community?
So I think I mentioned a couple of things just about, the love that the residents have for one another, but also just our incredible staff. We have staff members between our, town hall staff, and our Department of Public Works and our police department that
Mhm.
really, even if they don't even live in Mendham Township, because most of them don't live in Mendham Township has become their second home. And they
Right.
see this community as theirs. And so, people they just have such great passion. And, they come in every day and give it their best. And we're just so fortunate and lucky to have them. I,
That's nice. This was such a lovely, lovely interview. You're a very well-established person, and I'm so honored to know you now. And hopefully, I'll get to know you even more. So, thank you so much, Mayor Neibart, for just a wonderful interview and your dedication to the Mendham Township community. It's wonderful.